Hey everybody, today we're going to be working on my 66 Ford Mustang. It's got a 302 2.4, but we're not going to worry about the engine right now. But what we are going to do is this car still has the single master cylinder on it. And when I built this car 17 years ago, that was brand new. And I also happen to have put Granada front disc brakes on. I don't know if you can see it on here. Let me come on over to this side here. There, that's probably a little bit better. I did the Granada spindle swap. So I never did get around to changing the master cylinder over, but we have a little time. So we're gonna go ahead and switch this over to a dual setup master cylinder with a proportioning valve. Let me show you what I have to start with. Alrighty, so when I did the Granada swap, I bought a whole Granada for like $300. And I took the spindles, the rear end, the brakes, all the brake system. This is the original master cylinder off that Granada. And here's the proportioning valve. I've saved it all these years. I knew one day I'd get around to doing it. So the one day has come. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get this proportioning valve off this master cylinder. This master cylinder is locked up. It's been sitting around for 17 years, bounced around, you know, in the shop here. So I'm going to order a new master cylinder for manual brakes. So it's going to come with the rod, and we'll be able to, as long as this proportioning valve is still good, we're going to run this. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect all the lines, and we're going to check and make sure that we can still blow some air through everything, that it's not locked up. I've already pushed on the bottom here, and it feels like the plunger is still good. So we're going to get this cleaned up and get this ready to go on that Mustang. So I'm just going to get in here and clean up the fittings, and I already started kind of cleaning up the proportioning valve a little bit. So I guess the most important thing that I have to remember is, okay, the front of the master cylinder here, the small port, that is for the rear brakes. So the rear brakes come out and goes through the bottom of the proportioning valve here. And then now this goes out to the rear brakes. And now the front brakes wrap around and go into here. And then this is for probably the passenger side, and that is for the driver side. But it doesn't matter because this is just the open T in here. So it doesn't matter if this one goes to the passenger side or the driver side, or this one. It really doesn't matter which way it goes. So I'm still cleaning. We're going to break the lines free. 7/16. I already broke the line freeze. So we're just going to go ahead and we'll get this off. Unbelievable. It's been sitting here all this time and these lines aren't all rusted away. I don't know if I want to make new lines or we're going to reuse these lines. I'm not sure. Well, then we have to figure out where we have to mount this on the car. The original Mustang just has like a block like this that has, you know, one line that goes in and three lines that come out, one for the rear brakes, two to the front, because it's a single master cylinder. It's not a safety dual system like this one is. So let me get this off and we'll come back. All right, so I got the proportioning valve off the old master cylinder here. So this line here is for the front brakes. It runs in to this T and it tees out. So I went ahead and loosened the fittings here. So that fitting comes out. Let's take and I need to blow through. I'm gonna put my mouth on this to blow a little air, and let's see if the brake fluid comes up. Doesn't seem to be coming up. I did have this out already. Maybe I need to take it back out and check it. And then this is the line that runs in, and then this is for the rear brakes. And I got that loose, and you can see right here that there's also brake fluid there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to blow on this to get anything to flow through here or not with my mouth or not. I think it takes a little bit more pressure. Let me get an air blower and we'll come back. So actually, I was able to just put my mouth on the rear line. If you look right here, it's working. It's clear. So I think this proportioning valve is going to be okay. Just go ahead and recap this. keep the dirt out for now, and then I'll know what fitting it takes. So that's good. So that means that fluid is flowing from here through the proportioning valve and out. Now we just got to make sure I have fluid. Oh, great! I got brake fluid on my lens. Let's see if we can get that off of there. There we go. That looks better. All right, so we have fluid flowing this way. We got to make sure we have fluid flowing through here. Let's take this out. Let's see if we have. Once again, did I get the lens? Nope. That side's flowing. This side doesn't appear to be flowing, but we'll take that back out and clean it. I do have the wrench. I wonder if I tighten it too tight. There we go. So let's take a look in here. All right, that I can see through. That looks good. There's a copper washer. And where is... Let's get in here, just wipe that out. Okay, so the fluid flowed through here, in here, and then out here. And then this piece just sits on top of here. And it might actually has holes there. And that hole there is open, that hole's there. I do believe it's going to be okay. I don't think we're going to have a problem there. And of course, my pocket screwdriver's missing. Well, it looks like we got some more stuff on the camera lens. Let me wipe that off real quick for you guys. So, this proportion valve seems to be okay. There is a little bit of dirt in here. I'm going to get a rag and a screwdriver and clean that out, reassemble this. So, I'm going to go ahead and use this proportioning valve. It looks like it's in good shape. It had brake fluid in it all this time because I chomped the lines off so it would hold good. So I'm just going to go ahead and screw all the lines back on to keep the dirt out of it until I get my new master cylinder. I have to order the new master cylinder. They do have a manual brake master cylinder that comes with the rod, and that's exactly what I'm going to order. So this video here is going to end, and I'll pick it back up when I get the new parts and start assembling everything on the car. Alrighty, well, it's a few days later, and I have my new master cylinder that we're going to bleed. So I think I might have screwed myself a little bit, but I'll go over that in a second. So this is a manual brake booster for a 76 Granada. So it came with the push rod that goes in the back that will hook up to my brake pedal. So what I think what happened, I'm going to use this proportioning valve that came off the Granada, but what I think I screwed myself is this fitting here on the manual brake one is a 9/16. I think that's what this plug says. Yes, it's a 9/16, which is really big. So I looked through my tubing assortments, and I was able to find an adapter to make it work. Because I don't have just a, set this down. I do not have the right size nut that will fit on a 3/16 line to adapt it to the new master cylinder. I really don't care that it's got an adapter. I've seen cars like that all the time. This isn't a show car. This is a daily driven car. So now I'm going to show you how I like to bleed the master cylinders. So on this one here, I actually have plugs. They are plugged. Take my pair of little pliers and make sure they're tight, which they are. We have brake fluid in there. And now we are just going to go ahead and put the screwdriver in here. And that lines up to my hip. So I'm going to put my hip on this. Now, here we go. We're going to push it all the way in. Now look right there. That's how far that piston pushed in. So I'm going to keep pumping it until I can only pump about that much, and then the master cylinder will be bled. So as you see, as I start pumping it, you'll start getting some air bubbles. See the air bubbles coming out of the front there? So you just keep pumping it and pumping it. until you get all the air bubbles out. What did I do with my little straw? Oh, straw's on the floor. All right. And this one back hole has a bubble stuck in it, so I grabbed a brake clean straw that ended up on the floor. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a clean brake clean straw and I'll go in there and I'll hit the bubble to get the bubble to come out. So let's just keep bleeding the master cylinder. See the bubbles still coming out? You know, this could take 100, 200 times to get all the air out. So I'm just going to keep doing this. And like I said, I've got it pinned against my hip here. And I'm using my hand and my hip to pump it back and forth. All right, well, let me get this bled out. I'll come back once I get it bled out because this is going to take some time. Alrighty, well, I finally got all the air bubbles out. And like I said, I was using my little straw to come in here into this hole to take and getting the bubbles out. So now as you see when I push on it, and there was a couple more bubbles, but see there's basically no more bubbles in there coming up. So now I'm going to push in as hard as I can. Well, let me try to show you again. I'm going to push in as hard as I can, and you can see that's as far as I was able to push the rod in. And before I was pushing it in at least an inch farther. So now we've got it all bled out. It's still some bubbles coming out. I'm probably just going to let it sit here for about a half an hour or so and just come back and do it again. It feels really good. There's still a couple bubbles coming out, but it feels really good, not like it was. So we'll just let this sit for a little bit and let some more of the bubbles float to the top and do it some more. Put this on here so no dirt gets in. So we'll come back and do it a few more times, and then we'll get this put on the car and then this lined up so I can drill the new holes for the mounting. Alrighty, well, we got the old master cylinder off with the push rod here. Luckily the push rod just slides out. So we're going to do some measuring to make sure that the push rods are somewhere in the right position here. So I went ahead and I measured this one here, and it's roughly 4 7/8, and this one here is a scooch over 5 1/4. So I can already tell that this rod is a lot longer than that rod there. So I'm going to go ahead and put this rod in here, and we are going to check and see where we are, and we're about roughly 5 inches, about 5 inches. So I think we're going to use the old rod. And if you notice, this keeps falling out. Well, I do have the new metal clip that was on this rod that I'll put on the old rod to keep this from popping out. That's one thing I was worried about with this old master cylinder, is that this one's got a plastic clip and it wasn't holding this in. And if you lift it up on the pedal, this actually was sliding out, which is not good. So we'll go ahead and get this clip put on the old rod. I have a new booty that goes over this. So we'll get all this put back in the car and set up, and then we'll start doing the proportioning valve. Alright, I went ahead and took the hood off and this hinge off here to get in here and work, because these lines are incredibly tight. So I put a pair of channel locks on here to get that last line broken free. So you're going to take all the lines off, and then once we get all the lines off, we're going to take this splitter out. You can see the single pot master cylinder just pushes fluid to this splitter, and fluid goes to the 2 front brakes and the 1 back brake. So now we're going to split it into a proportioning valve. So we're going to get this out and put the new proportioning valve in and get it lined up to where it needs to be. Then we'll rebend these lines and try to get them to fit. We might have to do a little modification. I don't know what we're going to have to do yet, but that's where we're at right now. The master cylinder went right in, the push rod to the pedal hooked up, the brake lights work. So now we're just going to have to try to get the new proportioning valve up in here. All right, so we've been working on this, and boy, I made a mistake. Boy, did I make some mistakes with this one. So the first mistake I made is this proportioning valve is for a 76 Granada with power brakes. And I had a power brake master cylinder, but it was locked up. So when I went to go get a new master cylinder, I'm like, hey, great. They make a manual brake master cylinder. So I said, I'll go ahead and get that. Well, the problem with that is these fittings here are wrong. So this fitting here originally fit in the back of the old master cylinder. And now I don't have an adapter to fit this one, which is a 9/16 12 down to a 3/16 line to get it to come over and into the top here. So the other lines I was able just to take and re-bend them. So there's the back brake line there going into the bottom. Here is the right front brake running over the firewall that way. And then here is the front left brake running in. So I was able just to take and re-bend this line. It's not pretty, but it's in there and it will work fine. You know, I don't know. I can't remember if I tightened this. Yep, that's tight. Okay, so now what I figured out is this master cylinder actually came with this steel adapter, which is supposed to be an adapter. But what I did is this thing is nice and thick, so I drilled it out to 3/16. I'm going to run the 3/16 line through here, and this will be my new 9/16 nut to 3/16. I even took a one of those cone drill bits and gave it a little bevel, just like the bevel that the 3/16 line has. So I'm going to go ahead and bend a new line, because the problem with this line is this line I don't want to reuse this line because it's up a little too high. I want my curve to come out over and then in kind of at a shorter angle, or at least level with this so it doesn't catch any air bubbles up in the top. So I'm going to bend the new line and get it in, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like when all done. So like I said, I pulled the hood's on the roof. I pulled the hood hinge. Boy, that made a lot of difference. Oh, and if you all haven't seen this, yeah, this is a 302 2 Eldebrock 4 barrels. You know, it's quick, it's not fast. How's that sound? All right, let me bend that other line and we'll get that other line in here. All righty. Hopefully we're doing okay that we didn't lose the other video, but there we go. Proportioning valve is in. This is the left front line, comes around and goes to the top here. This is the right front brake that goes to the top here. I made myself an adapter, and I have bent a new line that goes into the top of the proportioning valve. And then this line that was originally on the back of the other master cylinder comes around, snakes around, goes to the bottom. And then here is the bottom line here. So we've bled it at the proportioning valve, and it seems like we have a decent pedal. So we still have the hood off and the hinge off. We'll put the hood and the hinge back on tomorrow. So that is, if you want to know how to put a double master cylinder on a classic Mustang that had the single pot master cylinder, that's how you kind of do it. And another way you can always tell is with disc brakes, the back half is always bigger than the front, and the front goes to the rear brakes, and all the fluid is in here is needed for the front calipers. So now I just got to top this thing off with fluid, put the hinge on, put the hood back on, and it's done. So that's something I've been meaning to do for 20 years. I bought the car like in 2001. So it's something I've been meaning to do on the car to get it up to standards so it'd be a lot safer. All right, everybody, I'm gonna leave it here. Thanks a lot for watching. Please subscribe. You can always do that in that corner. Please give me a thumbs up if you like my automotive videos.